Greetings. You may remember when I previously did a video about why moving to Canada won't solve your problem, especially if you're some American romanticizing Canada because of the social safety nets and the supposed universal health care, in which I addressed the systemic problems going on there. And now that I'm in continuation of the series dedicated to addressing systemic issues abroad, in this one, I will discuss why moving to the United Kingdom won't solve your problem. Collaborating with my British counterpart Lord Rex to discuss the systemic issues together that's going on in Great Britain to urge the romanticizers to think twice. Thank you, Master Rainey, for having me. Now, what I'd like to point out is how Britain goes through systemic issues that need to be addressed, in case if anyone romanticizes the United Kingdom, looking at it as if it was utopia. I totally get that the United States isn't a perfect country to live in, but some of my fellow people have been romanticizing the United Kingdom because of something like a work-life balance mandating a minimum of 28 vacation days annually, as well as how the crime rate is lower than the United Kingdom than in the United States. But honestly, systemic issues exist in Great Britain. Some sound similar to Canada's systemic issues previously addressed, but some are distinct. Let's start with the housing and living expenses. It's expensive to buy a home in the United Kingdom, averaging at about £271,000, converting to about $362,600, US dollars for sure. Perhaps that's an advantage in the UK. Housing is cheaper there since in the US, it's on average $400,000 or £300,000. However, wages in the United Kingdom are lower than in the US and cost of living expenses like taxes and energy bills, which includes petrol and electricity, and these costs are very high, impacting household budget. From the perspective, it may be cheaper to buy a house in Great Britain than in the States, but think about purchasing power. People earn a lower salary in Great Britain and it counterbalances the housing costs lower than America, clearly meaning a lower purchasing power, thus it's no escape from financial struggles. The housing market in the UK is limited because of low building rates. Energy and utility bills are expensive in Great Britain as an example. Think about how much you pay for fuel. It's £1 and 52 pence a liter, which converts to $2.03 a liter. In US units, that's about $7.68 a gallon, while in the United States, you're paying an average of $4.09 a gallon, or in which case, $1.08 a liter, converting to just 81 pence a liter. When it comes to rent, it's also lower in the UK than in the US, averaging at approximately £950 or $1,266 monthly in the UK, while in the US, it's $1,655 or £1,225 monthly. However, that doesn't mean that moving here to the United Kingdom will solve your problem if you feel that your rent is too high. That's because of, once again, the purchasing power where workers are earning a lower salary and paying higher taxes. If anything else to add, the Renters' Right Act only increased the tenant security from arbitrary evictions from apartments, but nevertheless, the affordability crisis with rent in Great Britain still wasn't solved. In major cities like London, your rent as a tenant in the United Kingdom will take up a large portion of your paycheck, coming from high demand, limited housing, and high local taxes. Guaranteed. Perhaps the energy and water bills will increase those costs. Let's not forget how the United Kingdom suffers a strained healthcare system. You see, the National Health Service faces prolonged waiting lists, severe doctor shortages, and lengthy emergency room delays. For non-urgent medical treatment, the waiting times average at around 3 months duration. In emergency cases, there have been patients waiting for more than 12 hours to get an emergency bed. Also, the staff shortage is absolutely insane. Doctors in the United Kingdom oftentimes face a poor work-life balance, and that has resulted in mass resignations from health services. The underpayment from NHS payroll errors have put the medical staff into significant debt, hence the shortages. You see, This is another universal healthcare system that's strained. In my country, the United States, healthcare can get really expensive, even with insurance. My country is not a universal healthcare system since access widely depends on the individual's insurance status. Otherwise, face costly expenses out of pocket, medical debt, and unequal access. The UK healthcare system is kind of similar to Canada's. Both are universal but strained, and on the whole, all three of the said nation's healthcare systems need to be reformed. Also, from what I heard, political polarization is also rampant in the United Kingdom. The two-bloc system weaponizes divisive rhetoric similar to the two-party system in the US. As a matter of fact, the progressive bloc comprising the Greens, Liberal Democrats, and leftist factions of the Labour Party, and the conservative bloc comprising the Conservatives, Reform UK members, and populist parties, they oftentimes have that in-group favoritism and out-group demonization. The left bloc accuses the right of xenophobia, being backward, and even accuse them of defying human rights, while the right bloc accuses the left of lacking patriotism, being elitist, and demolishing British culture. Similar to how Democrats and Republicans in the United States demonize each other, the two blocs here in Great Britain oftentimes frame each other as existential threats, as well as champion themselves by labeling them as absolute moral saints. Ugh, that's so egotistical. Tell me about it. The party purity in the United States is very rigorous. The whole feud between MAGA and the traditional conservatism, the Republican Party, and the feud between the progressive socialist wing and the establishment liberals and the Democratic Party just shows how bad the system has become. Let's not forget how Democrats and Republicans in the United States propagate that with us or against us narrative, showing how divisive they are. In the United Kingdom, if you're politically moderate or something like that, then expect divisive rhetoric thrown at you by each side. The left bloc accuses the political middle of quote-unquote enabling the Tories, betraying the working class, while the right bloc accuses the political middle of being part of the woke, metropolitan, anti-British elite, hating the UK and oftentimes called a globalist. That much reminds me of how progressive factionists like Bernie Sanders and AOC call centrists corporate bootlickers and accuse them of oppression against the working class and enabling the MAGA movement. The kind of rhetoric in my universe that I face from Miss Radical Woke on a daily basis. And how the MAGA factionists like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance label centrists and traditional conservatives as globalists and accuse them of hating America and treason against the United States. Once again, in my universe, the kind of rhetoric I face on a daily basis from Captain Reactionary. Here came a time in both my country and Lord Rex's country that middle ground compromise is delegitimized in an attempt to force loyal compliance, and how each side treats critique towards their campaigns, policies, and politicians ends up being treated as sacrilegious. The fact that two sides show so much animosity and hostility towards critics advocating for middle ground compromise, as well as towards each other, has suddenly become a new tradition that's rather unbearable. Lastly, the immigration barriers. Anyone who considers immigrating to the United Kingdom must follow these barriers I'm about to mention. There exist high salary thresholds requiring you a minimum of £41,700 annually, or about $56,000 a year, which makes it harder to qualify for citizenship. The health and care worker visa route to newcomers has been closed by the UK government since the 22nd of July 2025, meaning new care assistants, home care workers, or support workers are no longer sponsored by the care providers in Great Britain from abroad. The dependency policy for immigration requires main applicants' working skills to be at a minimum of level 6 on regulated qualification framework. So if your regulated qualification framework level is below a level 6, then you are not qualified to bring any dependents abroad to the United Kingdom as per the immigration rule. Care and senior care workers are only allowed to bring dependents if they've held the visa status before the 11th of March 2024. Also, migrants in the UK have to wait as long as 10 years before receiving approved immigration. That used to take half as long, which was 5 years to be exact, but now it's 10 years, twice as long, and keep in mind that waiting times are liable to extend. If you're a low-skilled worker, then you end up waiting for as long as 15 years, and if you depend on public funds, then the permanent settlement will take as long as 20 years. There's also English test part of the immigration barriers. If you consider moving to the United Kingdom, then you'll be required to take the proficiency test, ranging from A1 for basic family visas to B2 for skilled worker routes. And passing the proficiency test requires a B1 or B2. Also, be aware of the digital tracking on those e-visas that track and show your legal status on your UKVI account, which stands for UK Visas and Immigration. Well, I think that's a wrap-up of this video. This collaboration with Lord Rex was definitely worth my time. Hopefully it taught a lesson to the Americans romanticizing the United Kingdom, assuming they're watching this video and ignoring the systemic issues going on there. I'm anticipating to see some denial in the comment section dedicated to the romanticization addressed throughout this video. I'll point out that in addition to the grass is greener phenomenon between the United States and Canada, there's also another grass is greener phenomenon between the United States and the United Kingdom. We have Americans romanticizing the United Kingdom and Brits romanticizing the United States in that phenomenon. I have heard about Americans finding it charming for the UK's perceived history, perceived work-life balance, comprising the mandatory 28 days of paid holiday, as well as those so-called wise and witty accents, while Brits look at pop culture, endless optimism, and greater social horizons. People who engage in this grass is greener phenomenon seem unaware of systemic issues in the United States versus the United Kingdom. Anyway, it was well worth the time in a collab with you, and I'm at least glad that you aren't romanticizing my country nor think about moving here where I reside. Frankly, you are aware of systemic issues in both your country and my country, and I'm also aware of the same thing. Oh yeah, it was my pleasure. It's good that you don't romanticize my country since you're aware of both our nation's systemic issues simultaneously. It's been such a great collaboration, I just want to say. Have a great rest of your day. We'll get in touch sometime. See you later. See you later. And have a great rest of your day as well. Take care. So to recap, while the housing and rent prices in the United Kingdom are lower than the United States, it's still no problem solver as the workers' income in the United Kingdom is lower than the United States. In addition to the lower salary, they also pay higher taxes and higher energy bills, including electricity and fuel, meaning a lower purchasing power. The healthcare system in the United Kingdom is also strained. Doctor shortages are caused by not only doctor burnouts, but also by the underpayment putting them into debt that urged mass resignations, which led to wait times being so prolonged, averaging about 3 months duration for non-urgent appointments and 12 hours worth of waiting for an emergency bed. Immigration barriers in the United Kingdom that are required to meet complicated criteria, such as high salary thresholds, a closed social care route, the dependency policy requiring main applicants to have an RQF at least a level 6 or higher to bring dependents along, care workers only being allowed to bring dependents if they have the visa status prior to March 11, 2024, the permanent settlements taking as much as 10 years, mandatory English proficiency test, and digital tracking via e-visas and digital IDs to affirmatively and authentically prove the individual's legal status. And the political polarization and toxic extremism rising in the United Kingdom dedicated to the progressive left-wing bloc versus the conservative right-wing bloc tribalism, whereas the progressive bloc comprises the Green Party, Liberal Democrat Party, and left-wing factions of the Labour Party, and the conservative bloc comprises the Conservative Party, the Reform UK Party, and populist parties, dynamically similar to the Democrat versus Republican trope in the United States. If anyone is thinking about moving to the United Kingdom in an attempt to escape from America's problems, think about what I have discussed in collaboration with Lord Rex in this video. I'm not discouraging anyone from relocating and immigrating to the United Kingdom. I'm just saying that you should consider yourself warned because of the systemic issues in Great Britain that's been addressed, just so you're aware. As stated, moving anywhere abroad to try and escape the systemic issues from your home country is basically taking your problems with you. So it's best that you try and solve your problems at home, because romanticizing another country doesn't help you cope with the systemic issues. In fact, there's not a single country on earth that will fix your problems, so once again, try solving them at home. Anyways, for more content on the Master Rainy channel and the notification for the 99th video of the Master Rainy channel, feel free to hit subscribe and ring the bell. As always, see you next time. This is Master Rainy, over and out. Have a good one.